Will continue my humble pranams to all Atmajyotis, divine light of the self. Will continue with the contemplation on Sri Ramana Maharshi's teaching. Last time we heard लय विनाशने उभयरोदने लयगतं पुनर्भवति नो मृतं. Mind has two ways. The mind can be suppressed. The suppressed mind bounces back like a spring. And mind can be dead, mrata. So mind which is suppressed will springs back. Mind which is dead will never come back again. Many people have heard, I meditate. Oh, what happens in a meditation? It's a wonderful meditation. Okay, in this meditation, what happened to you? I don't know what happened. I don't even know what happened. I don't know how long I was meditating. That is not meditation. That's unconsciousness. There are many people happy that I meditated for 3 hours, 4 hours. If you ask what happened, I don't know what happened. I don't know. I don't know what's happening outside or what's happening inside. That's not called meditation. That is unconsciousness. Something what you go through when in deep sleep. There's not much of difference there and this meditation. So there was one saint who was meditating near a riverbed. The saint, there was a disciple. Saint asked the disciple, can you fetch me one glass of water? The disciple said, I'll fetch you one glass of water, and he went away. In the meanwhile, the saint entered into Jada Samadhi. A Samadhi means, Jada means unconscious, unawareness. In that unawareness, there is no outside, there is no inside, there is no awareness at all. Awareness of within and without is lost. At the same time, there is a flood in the river, and that flood washed away the saint. His body was taken somewhere and he got buried in the sand, buried in the mud. The saint is not aware that this is happening. He was buried underground, and many days and many years passed. Some villagers were digging near that riverbed, and they found the body of the saint. He was in a state of samadhi. It's called Jada Samadhi. They rubbed his feet, they warmed his body. His body was weak, but he had survived for a long time. Then he became aware, and first question he asked, where is my glass of water? The last thought before going to Samadhi was, I want one glass of water. The first thought after coming out of Samadhi is, where is my glass of water? Nothing has happened, no light has come, no wisdom has come. It is unconsciousness. That's called Jada Samadhi. There are many people who get attracted to this Jada Samadhi and nothing will come out of that Jada Samadhi. It is something like you might have heard that in in the north, Antarctic area, the snow bear is there. They go into some sort of sleep during winter. That's called hibernation. The body, pulse rate, everything goes down. The metabolism will go down. It will be sort of a deep sleep. And when the winter, when the summer comes, they wake up. Jada Samadhi is like that. There is no illumination or the wisdom in Jada Samadhi. Jada Samadhi is not we have to achieve. Jada Samadhi is laya or suppression. When you enter into Chetana Samadhi, means awareness is there, and the mind becomes dead. That is called enlightenment. The mind becomes illuminated. Dead mind means, don't think that dead mind means an idiot's mind. A mind which is dead, it has lost its tendency. The nature of the mind is to separate out me from the existence. I am separate from the existence. That thought process is the mind. So when the thought process disappears, the mind gets absorbed into the self. That is called dead mind. The mind becomes a part of the self. A purified mind is nothing but the self. When we say dead mind, you may start thinking that the person has become blank or idiot. No, he has become wise. The mind is no longer projecting the separation from the existence. And he is fully aware. Samadhi is not an unconscious state at all. Samadhi is a fully aware state. What is required for mukti or liberation? You have to achieve the destruction of the mind, not the suppression of the mind. Suppression will not take you anywhere. There are a lot of fads in meditation goes on nowadays. A lot of fantasies, out of body travel, astral travel, seeing lights, seeing chakras, seeing flying over the sky, dancing in the ocean. So many types of meditations are taught. I am not saying it's wrong. It could be entertaining, but it's not liberating. So you should be able to distinguish between spiritual entertainment and liberation. If you are happy with the entertainment and you want to have entertainment, I have no objection to that. I would say have it. Anyway you go to movies, anyway you go to trip, why not go to astral trip? Okay, why not have some dance? And if you want to call that as meditation. But real meditation is full awareness, where the I thought disappears. When the I thought disappears, then through that body-mind complex, only Supreme Reality, Parabrahma operates. There's no individual anymore left there. That is the state when the mind is annihilated, destroyed. Sri Ramana Maharshi speaks of that state. So, is it possible for such a person to do something? Is it possible for him to do anything in the world? Mind is destroyed, you say. What a person whose mind is destroyed can do? He can do anything. In fact, he can do everything. Anything and everything he can do is better than you. Because your mind is cluttered, his mind is clear. Your mind has a thought called I, ego, which takes various shapes. Sometimes you become a husband, sometimes you become a wife, sometimes you become a man, sometimes you become a woman, sometimes you become an enemy, sometimes you become a spiritual sadhaka, sometimes you become a bhakta, sometimes you become a guru. So many types of egos you take. That ego is the pollution of the mind. When that pollution is disappeared, the thoughts are very clear. Very, very clear thoughts. What is required, what is not required. Such a person becomes very, very efficient if he has to perform in the world. He is full of wisdom. There is no unnecessary thought in his life or her life. Mind dead doesn't mean that becoming blank. Mind dead means mind becoming clear. Mind becomes empty. Mind becoming pure. That pure mind is Atma. Please understand, there is nothing other than the Atma in the world. As I told you, in the last class I told you. Whatever you see, whatever you experience, you can call it as wall, stone, sky, earth. Everything is nothing but awareness only. But the mind creates an illusion that it is separate. So that illusion disappears. Then you have the experience of Vasudhaiva Sarvam, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Everything is one family. So that is what Sri Ramana Maharshi speaks of, dead mind. Manasam tu kim Margane krate Naiva manasam Marga arjavat. If you inquire what is this mind, the mind disappears. Mind itself is not there. If you think mind is a reality, it's not. All people in the world struggled with only one thing, that's their mind. People are troubled, disturbed. They think that the boss disturbs me, they think that husband disturbs me, they think that wife disturbs me, they think that stock market disturbs me, they think that there are many things in the world disturbs them. In reality, nothing disturbs, it's only the mind, their own mind. So many people try to struggle and cope up with the mind. They find some practice or other, and the mind is too cluttered. Somebody will go for a peg of whiskey. They become spiritual in that sense. Okay? They take the shelter of the spirit. Okay? Somebody becomes to escape from the mind, he becomes workaholic. Somebody becomes alcoholic. Okay? Somebody sits at home, watches TV, because watching TV, mind will not have to work, only TV will work. Some people will go out somewhere with the friends. When the friends are there, there's so much of noise there, so you're lost. Everybody speaks of something. In that speaking of something, you will be lost. People find different ways of escaping from the mind. Now comes the spiritual sadhaka. He understands this game of the mind. He says, all problem in your world is mind only. So conquer the mind. Sri Ramana Maharshi says, even that is also false. So you are giving a reality to the falsehood. The mind itself doesn't exist. That is a reality. It's a shadow. It has no real existence. It's an illusion. Now for that illusion, you give a strength. The spiritual sadhaka says, see, I have to do so many things to control my mind. Okay? He may do so many practices to control the mind. It is like this. There is a tree, okay, far away, and you are in the darkness. Suddenly you see a ghost there. Okay? And there are a lot of theories. That ghost is that of a lady who committed suicide. That ghost is because there was a burial ground there. So many theories people have about that ghost. In reality, there is no ghost. It's only a tree. In darkness, it appears like a ghost. The mind appears to be real in unawareness, ignorance. Now the problem is for all the spiritual sadhakas in the world, they want to conquer the mind. Somehow I want to master the mind. Okay? Your assumption starting point itself is wrong. To tell that mind has to be something to be conquered, you give the concreteness to the mind. In reality, mind is not concrete. Mind is not real. Sri Ramana Maharshi says, don't worry about conquering the mind, inquire about the mind. Anything you inquire in the world, if you look anything with awareness, you'll get out of the problems. When you are driving a car, if you are unaware, you may fall into a pit. You may get into an accident, but if you are aware, you will not fall, you will not meet with the accident. In your work, if you are aware, you will not do a mistake. If you are unaware, you will do a mistake. In your talk, if you are aware, you will not hurt anybody. In unawareness, you hurt somebody. In your life, if you are aware, you will not get angry. You will get angry when you are unaware. Awareness is the light which purifies everything what you see and what you do. There was a marriage house. There's a marriage which was going on. And as usual, Indian marriages are very noisy. People come there for various reasons. The boy and girl come there for getting married. Everybody else has some purpose. Many people come there. I'll meet all my old friends. Some 20 years of talk I have to finish. Okay? And for many people, many women, it is a time to brush off the saris. Dozens of saris which are kept in the cupboard, take the best out of that. Otherwise it will be rusting there for several years. For some people it is an occasion to show jewelry, what I have. For some people it is an occasion to show how powerful they are, rich they are. And for some people a good dinner, good feast. So each person comes with a different expectation. In these Indian marriages, there is one thing. There are people from boys' side and there are people from girls' side. There are two categories. And as a tradition, the girls' side is supposed to respect the boys' side in olden days. Now in the new days, it's the other way. Okay? But somebody has to respect some other. So in this, there is one man who is very smart, who is talking to all the people, who is interacting with all the people. And everybody thinks that nobody knows him. They think that he is from girl's side. Girl side thinks that he is from boss side. But this man is enjoying. He has come there to steal the jewelry. Okay. So then somebody says, girl side says, who is this man? We don't know. They ask boy side, who is this guy? They say, I also don't know. The girl side doesn't know. The boy side doesn't know. And when the girl side and boy side talk to each other, this man gets suspicious. This man gets alert. He disappears. So similarly, when there is awareness of what is the nature of the mind itself disappears. You don't have to conquer the mind. You don't have to force the mind. But inquire into the nature of the mind disappears. This is the nature of the mind. The disappearance of the mind is called Atmadana. Not sinking into a Jada Samadhi, a Samadhi with unawareness. not doing so much of sadhana, spiritual sadhana. Every spiritual sadhana what you do presumes that the mind is there. Please understand. Nobody questions the existence of the mind itself. That's why all yogas, when you say yoga, yoga is a wrong presumption. Karma yoga, bhakti yoga, jnana yoga, kriya yoga, you think that is great. Yoga means union. First of all, there was never a disunion. Okay? Your assumption itself is wrong. Then you take a path. I am a karma yoga sadhaka for 20 years. You will be karma yoga sadhaka for another 50 years also, because you don't even question what you are doing. I am a bhakti yogi. Arey Baba, all these yogas are starting with the assumption that I am an individual soul. They are not looking at the reality. Ramana Maharshi gives insight into the nature of the mind. He says the mind itself doesn't exist. You inquire and you become aware properly. The mind itself disappears. Why are you getting into some practices in ignorance? Manasam tukim. What is this mind, if you ask? Mind itself disappears.
One question. So there are seekers who, like, they, for example, Buddha says there's a middle path. So, I mean, he wants to, like, seek liberation at the same time, be active in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So, can he move his ego both ways, or is that a wrong, approach at all?
I didn't understand the question. What is the question?
The question is like, see, suppose someone is seeking liberation, you're saying the mind has to be annihilated.
Right.
Okay, now suppose he says, I want to be a liberated IAS officer.
Yeah, it's okay.
So, I mean, that means his ego has to move both ways, right? Like,
No. See, a liberated person can be anything. Okay, he can be IAS officer, he can be businessman, he can be prime minister, he can be a beggar, he can be anything. Please understand, there is no
limitations.
No, there is no external characteristics. Okay, now actually problem for us is the moment you say liberation, lot of images will come. Somebody sitting on top of mountain, somebody sitting, somebody is, what do you call this, some run away from house, and somebody has a big beard, as if he is a good for nothing fellow. Okay, that is the image of liberation for us. The liberation is not that. A liberated person can be anywhere in the world, he can be anything, he can be a soldier. So there is no duality there. Okay, the individuality is gone. That one consciousness which operates through that body-mind complex. It can run the body-mind complex as a prime minister, as a soldier, as a farmer. There's no confusion at all. Now, if I have to be liberated and IAS officer, do I have two ego? No. The liberation will eliminate the ego, and that body-mind complex can continue to be a good IAS officer straight away.
No, but what about the vasana? It will be a vasana, right?
So that's where you have to understand the difference between the vasana which blocks your liberation, and vasana which is residual liberation. Vasana. There are two kinds of vasana, impressions in you. There are vasanas, impressions, which will block your awareness. Okay? And there are vasanas which are there, which are nothing but skills, which don't block your awareness. For example, somebody has a great musician. I am giving you example of Sri Tyagaraja. He is a great musician. The music is a habit. Right? He learned, it's a practice. And even in deep sleep, he can sing music. But just because he sings music, it doesn't stop, it doesn't become a block for liberation. Okay. In fact, after liberation, he becomes a great musician, because the music is there without a noise. Now, what is a block for your liberation is not all the vasanas, but vasana related to I am so and so. Your identification becomes the block. Your identity is the block for liberation, not other vasanas. Eating, drinking, walking, otherwise he'll become an idiot. Okay, if all vasanas are wiped out, he'll be nothing. A liberated being can walk, talk, drink, smile, and be an engineer or a pilot or a businessman or a politician, because those vasanas don't block his liberation. What blocks his liberation is self-identity. That self-identity is gone and it is replaced by universal identity. So don't mix up the vasanas which block liberation and vasanas which don't block liberation. Mukti, at the time of mukti or liberation, vasanas which block the liberation are destroyed. That's all related to self-identity. Now, whether we will have a motivation to do something, I don't know. Okay? That motivation to do something, help people or whatever is that, is all part of the residual vasana, impression. Like an enlightened being, a musician, when after he becomes enlightened, he doesn't become a dancer. Or that his music will not get erased. Okay? He will be continuity a musician with the no self-identity. There will be music, but there will not be musician. The singer is gone. There is a dancer, there is a dance, but dancer is gone. So when the selflessness is there, there's a beauty in that. The ego is ugly. That ugliness is removed from your life. Everything will still continue. A person can become IAS officer, a person can become businessman. In fact, they become better than anything else in any field. Does that answer your question? I have an IAS aspirant here sitting here, so I... It's clear? Yes?
So for a sadhaka, desire to liberate itself is from the mind. So
Sorry, desire itself?
Desire is coming from the mind
Uh-huh.
to get liberated.
Right.
So he's starting in the wrong where itself.
He's starting from the...
Is he starting from the wrong where itself?
No. See, the desire to get liberated is nothing wrong in that. Okay, it comes...
Again, since the desire to get liberated, and again, you're using the mind.
Mind only. Mana eva karanam manushyanam bandha mokshayo. Mind is the bondage and mind is the liberator. Okay? So, there's not... Mind, when I say mind is nothing but mandal of thoughts and sense of ego. Okay? So this mind gets some good impressions. Somewhere it hears that liberation is there, enlightenment is there. So earlier it was having some different type of ignorance. Now it will get some understanding. Then it will start seeking liberation. Okay? In the process, it will burn itself. Okay? So nothing wrong in that, but the understanding that mind is real. There are a lot of people who keep on doing lifelong practice. Even after doing some 10, 15, 20, 30 years of sadhana, they will come back and say, it's very, very difficult to conquer the mind. They didn't understand the mind. They have not understood the mind at all. Once you understand, once you become aware, the mind disappears. Mind doesn't exist.
Can we say mind is dead? Mind is no more in mind. Now it is consciousness.
It is called what?
Mind is no more in mind now. It is consciousness.
It is consciousness only. Actually, in the world, whatever is there is consciousness only. Nothing is other than consciousness.
So that means it's no more in mind now.
It is no more mind. That's why mind, mana mrata. Mind is dead. Right? So, please understand there is nothing called other than consciousness in the world. If you are saying that this is a wall, that is a stone, everything at the basic raw material is consciousness only. But the mind which separates that into jada, chetana, living, non-living, good, bad, I and that. Once that disappears, mind becomes purified. Then what you see, what you perceive, where you exist is nothing but divine. Drash. प्राणबंधनात् लीयते मानसम् एकचिन्तनात् नाशमेत्यदा There are pranayama practices. There are practices where you block the prana. When you block the prana, the mind also gets blocked, stopped. Prana bandhana, liyate manaha, mind becomes suppressed. Even if you do simple pranayama like Kapalabhati or even Bastrika, so some of these pranayamas are the vigorous pranayamas. After doing pranayama, you feel so blissful, the mind becomes silent. And there are other pranayamas, there are bandhas. Bahya Kumbhaka, Antar Kumbhaka, then Jalandhara Bandha, Udyana Bandha. There are so many types of bandhas are there. Bandhas means blockages. These bandhas produce a silent state of the mind. But don't be under the illusion that the silent state of the mind lasts longer. The mind sprouts back. Mind is like a spring. It comes up. It sprouts. And then again your all vasanas which are suppressed will come up. During that period when prana was held in suspension, prana was suppressed, you feel bliss. But what is the use? Again it will come back. But Sri Ramana Maharshi doesn't deny that it has a use. Okay. He says by doing this, you are actually training your mind to become silent. Okay. The monkey is very, very curious animal, naughty animal, mischievous animal. It keeps on jumping here and there. The monkey trainer trains the monkey, okay, by giving a carrot or being peanuts or beating it when it doesn't behave properly. He trains the monkey. You have seen the monkeys dancing, monkeys fetching milk or whatever is that, right? Similarly, mind also can be trained. Okay, pranayama is one way of training the mind. But please understand, it is still a monkey. After all your training, monkey will be still a monkey. Similarly, after all your training, by training the mind, you can remove the unwanted impressions and plant some more impressions. But still the mind is there. Prana bandhanat liyate manaha, mind becomes suppressed. But eka chantanat nashametyada, the mind gets destroyed by eka chintana. What is that eka chintana? Earlier we told what is dhyana, meditation. Sohamityaso, I am he, I am that. Right? That chintana will destroy the mind. What is that chintana? Nanu, Nanembudu, Nanalla, Ideha, Manabuddhi, Nanalla, Sachidanandatma, Shivananunane, Shivoham, Shivoham. Constantly we have to think, Eka Chintanaha, I am one with the consciousness, I am one with Shiva. Any other understanding is actually misleading and false. So only when you have right understanding, you will reach the right destination. The right understanding is you are not the body, you are not the mind, you are not the intellect, you are pure consciousness. Again and again, you have to remember that. Then you have to develop that bhava. What is that bhava? Bhava means feeling. Okay? We have a deep inside, there's a feeling called I am feeling is there. All our thoughts are arising from that I am feeling. The I am is the basic feeling. I am going, I am walking, I am drinking, I am eating. Now if you question what is this I am, okay, I am walking. Who is that walking? Is consciousness walking? Is Parabrahma walking? Where can he walk? There is no space for him. Everywhere Parabrahma is there. Where will he walk? It is the body which is walking, and then I say I am walking, which is confusion. Okay? Then you say I am unhappy or I am happy. You mean to say the consciousness is happy or unhappy? It is the mind which is happy or unhappy. You say, I am thinking. Do you think consciousness is thinking? Intellect is thinking. In the presence of consciousness, all these functions are happening. But all of these are attributed to I am. That I am is a feeling. Now that I am feeling, you have to merge with Soham. You have to make the feeling Soham, I am that. So then in that process, that I am feeling disappears into the source called consciousness. That alone can destroy the ignorance. That alone can drop the ego. There are all hundreds and thousands of books, spiritual books, which says ego has to be dropped. Okay, every Mahatma says ego has to be dropped. And you struggle to drop the ego. Who is trying to drop the ego? It's ego trying to drop the ego. Right? So you come and say one day, I have done 20 years of sadhana. Okay, I have dropped my ego. Right? So, ego dropping the ego with the ego is like a thief becoming a policeman. Now you start doing better. He is able to steal in a better way. Okay, ego cannot drop itself in any way. How ego can drop itself? It will say, I have dropped the ego. Okay, it has changed the dress. Ego keeps on changing the dress. Ego keeps on changing the shape. Ego cannot drop itself. That's where it is said the grace is required, the master is required. You surrender, okay, and that surrender, the ego gets dropped. That sense of I, Soham, with the feeling of Soham, that sense of ego will disappear. So there are only two paths for liberation. Please understand. There are only two paths. You may say Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Kriya Yoga, all those yoga you can say. But there are only two paths for liberation. What are those two paths? Total surrender or full awareness, self-inquiry. Self-inquiry or surrender. This is the only way. The surrender happens when you see the higher consciousness, magnificent consciousness of the Master, of the Divine. Then surrender happens. When you inquire into the nature of self, the ego disappears. There are only two ways. There are many names, but ultimately only two ways. These are the two ways of liberation. How many paths are for liberation? Only two. Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Kriya Yoga, Jnana Yoga. People chant so many things. There are only two paths. Surrender or self-inquiry. Are these not helpful? They are helpful. Right? Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Kriya Yoga are helpful. You can make a better trained mind.
Those are the sadhanas, not shodhana.
That's we belong in the category of sadhana, not shodhana. Right?
But on top of that, grace has to.
See, grace is always there. Okay? There's no point of time, there's no grace. Okay. See, the grace is what makes your life. Grace, you please understand, what is grace? You tell me, what is grace?
Existence of grace.
I know only grace mark. Okay? So what happens is, all these examinations, my daughter came and said, there are 5 questions and 2 questions were wrong. Okay? How many marks you are going to get out of 100? I have written 60 correctly and I'll get 100 marks. How will you get 100 marks? That 40 marks question is wrong. And they will give grace marks. But ultimately she got only 70. Okay, the grace mark didn't come. The grace mark, grace is something given to you. Okay? Now please tell me, what is not given to you in your life? Your body was given to you by parents. Your mind is given to you by society. Okay? Your existence is given by the 5 elements of nature: the sun, air, water, earth, fire. Okay. Your eyes are operating, your ears are operating, your mouth is operating, you are able to eat the food and get digestion. None of this is you are doing. Everything is grace. Okay. Now the grace in the spiritual context. Okay. Somebody who is living in ignorance, that ignorance gets broken, shattered. How does it get shattered? Once in a while you get kicks in life. Thorough kicks. Okay? So thorough kicks that suddenly you wake up. Why the hell I am living? That question will come. Okay? The kicks also grace. Right? You think suffering in your life is not grace? It is given to you by God, by Bhagavan to wake you up. You are dreaming. You are dreaming. You are actually snoring. There are so many teachings are there. You are listening and then again snoring. So, and you know how to wake up your husband or wife. The wife you can't wake up like that, okay? Bring a bucket full of water and pour in his head. I have never heard a wife getting woken up like that. Husband only gets woken up like that, rudely. Okay? Right? So, the existence also wakes you up. Shakes you up. That shaking is also grace. The difficulties which you face in life are nothing but grace. What is not grace? Okay? In fact, these difficulties are alarms for you. Wake up, wake up. Something is wrong. Okay? They are wake up alarms. But are you waking up? Everything is grace. There's nothing other than the grace. That is actually Rama and Ravana is basically contrast, duality. Okay? Now here the question is grace. Don't look at Rama, Ravana. Look at your life. What is not grace, you tell me? When I say grace means something which is given to you. Everything is given to you. Please understand. Nothing belongs to you. So that's grace. Now, the grace in the spiritual context is left to ourselves, we are living in ignorance. There is a hand required to pull you up. The hand of the master. The hand of the higher consciousness. That hand which helps you, uplifts you. That brings a new dimension of awareness. Without that helping hand, you cannot come out of that ignorance. That helping hand is called grace. And the circumstance will come for making that happen. Those circumstances are not created by you, the circumstances were created for you. Somebody says, there is some satsang going on. You never want to go to satsang. One day you want to go, one day you go to satsang because some of your friend is coming there. The friend is he or she, I don't know. So you go there not for satsang, for that occasion. Suddenly some words you hear alter your, bring new consciousness in you. These circumstances which are created for you is called grace. It's not because of you, it's in spite of you. The grace is always there. Okay, the question is, are we in a position to accept that grace? Are we in a position to receive that grace? For receiving anything in life, you need some capability now. Somebody becomes a prime minister just like that. He has to have certain capability. Somebody becomes a policeman like that. He needs to have capability. To receive grace which uplifts you, you need to have certain capability. The grace which liberates you, you need to have capability. You should seek to develop those qualities which will qualify you to receive that grace which liberates you. That's life. नष्टमानसो उत्कृष्टयोगिनः कृत्यमस्ति किं स्वस्तितिं यतः. Now we have a concept of great yogis, Raja Yogi, Bhakti Yogi, Kriya Yogi, Dhyana Yogi, Jnana Yogi. So many yogis you have heard. Okay. Who is a yogi? One who is on the path of spirituality is called yogi. But who is Utkrishta yogi? Who is the greatest yogi? Nashta Manasaha. One whose mind has disappeared. One whose mind is lost. One whose mind is destroyed. He alone is the greatest yogi. Everybody is sadhaka. So the beauty of this is, you can see who is a lot of bhakti. You can see a person with bhakti yogi. You can see so much of devotion with which he sings, so much of devotion which take do puja. Everything you can see. You can see a jnana yogi, somebody who is able to speak fluently on the scriptures, able to bring light can be seen. You can see karma yogi, somebody who gives so much of attention in details to the work. You can see. You can see a kriya yogi, somebody who puts asanas and breathe pranayama. Now, it's very difficult to recognize a nashta manasa yogi. Somebody utkrishta yogi you can't recognize because there are no outer qualities. All that you can recognize in life is the people with the outer quality, the people with the inner quality is very difficult to recognize. Okay. Only a person who has completely destroyed his mind is called Utkrishta yogi, the great yogi. How can you recognize him? Please tell me. How can you recognize that person? You can always recognize sound, but you cannot recognize silence. You can recognize violence, but you cannot recognize peace. You can recognize all the yogis, but you cannot recognize a Utkrishta yogi. Because your mind seeks symptoms. You cannot recognize the source. Kratyamasti kim swastitim yataha. Oh, what he has to do, what sadhana has to do, he has to do after that. What is that he has to do? Okay, does he have to do pranayama? Does he have to do puja? Or does he have to go to temple? Or does he have to give lectures? What action has to be done? Nothing has to be done by that person. He is already swastitim, he has reached the destination. There is a story beautiful story in the life of Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa was a great sadhaka. Sadhaka, I am saying sadhaka only. He had a deep devotion to the Mother Kali. He used to talk to her, he used to interact with her, he used to give naivedyam to her. Okay, the Mother Kali was living reality for him. One day, Master Totapuri comes and tells Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, I am going to teach you Advaita, non-duality. What is non-duality? I am Brahman. The self is nothing but Shiva. Consciousness, self is Brahman. That I'll teach. And he taught. Suddenly Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa is established in Nirvikalpa Samadhi. 21 days he is sitting silently. Then after 21 days he wakes up. Okay. Master Totapuri is very impressed by Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa's achievement. It took him only 40 years of sadhana to achieve that. Okay, then Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa goes back. Then one day Master Totapuri is again sitting for meditation. Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa comes and asks him, why are you meditating? I have been meditating for the last 40 years. Why are you meditating? He asks. Then Totapuri says, the mind is like a vessel. Mind is like a patra, vessel. Okay? You have to wash it every day, otherwise it will become dirty. Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa asked him innocently, what if the vessel is golden vessel? Okay. So what happens is, the Ramakrishna Paramahamsa's mind is pure gold. Once the mind is destroyed, it will not come back again. Finished. Okay. Then he doesn't have to again go and sit meditation. Aham Brahmasmi, Aham Brahmasmi. No, it's over. How many times you have to repeat that? It's over. Alright? Then what happened? All puja and worship what Ramakrishna Paramahamsa used to do, they dropped. He used to go and evening Sandhya Vandana in the river. There he used to take water and give arghya to the sun god, evening time. Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa comes, says, he is not able to give arghya. The water is slipping away from his hand. What has to be done by somebody who has become that? He has nothing to do. He has already reached the destination. After reaching the destination, you don't need a car. Vehicle is required till you reach the destination. Okay? Somebody is still doing sadhana. Please understand that person has not reached the destination. After reaching the destination, all sadhana, all practice of what you do drops. Vedas go to the extent of saying, Vedaha bhavanti avedaha. For a realized person, even Vedas become useless. What is the use of the map after you reach the destination? A map is required till you go there. That's why you have seen Sri Dattatreya. Dattatreya has 4 dogs. You know what those dogs are? Those dogs represent 4 Vedas. Rigveda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, Atharvana Veda. Those who are not realized chase the Vedas like dogs. For those who are realized, Vedas chase them like dogs. That is the symbology. Okay? What Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa speaks, that becomes the Veda. That becomes Upanishad. There is nothing to be done by such a soul. There is no sadhana. But does it mean that he will sit idle? He may not. She may not. They can behave in a different ways. Okay? They will, whatever they do is for Loka Kalyana. Why Sri Ramana Maharshi was sitting silently? By sitting in silence, he is attracting people to come to him. In that process, he uplifted people. Mata Amritamai goes all over the world. Why? By going to the world, she brings peace. How they behave, we can't understand. Right? But such a person has no action to be done. That means he is not to become idle or useless. It's not that. There's no action to be performed for selfish reason. There's no action to be performed for anything which is related to ego. All his or her actions are out of pure love and compassion. That is action. In that love and compassion, he can do much more than any other beings can do. Okay? This is not saying that person will become idle. When he says he cannot, no kartavyam, nothing to be done, no actions which are forceful, no actions are ego-centered, no actions which are selfishness, and no actions for sadhana. I want to ability, I want to do some sadhana, that also is not there. But whatever action he does is born out of pure love and compassion and wisdom, and they are uplifting and beneficial to the society. That's the meaning of that. So many people think that liberation means becoming, not doing anything. It is not doing something out of selfishness. It's not doing something for individual ego. It is being fully active in bringing awareness to the world. दृश्यवारितं चित्तमात्मनः चित्वदर्शनं तत्वदर्शनं Drishyavaritam. The mind is actually mind goes after the images. Right? So when eyes are open, we are attracted by so many things in the world. When eyes are closed, those things which are attracted us appear as images in our mind. Okay? The mind keeps on running after images. Thoughts will generate after the images. Images which you like or images you dislike. Drishyavaritam. Once those images are removed, mind becomes silent. Mind is established in Atma Darshana. See, please understand, the mind doesn't become dull or unconscious. Mind becomes free from the thoughts and images. And that mind which becomes free from the thoughts or images becomes a mind which reflects the awareness fully. Mind and awareness are not distinguishable from that perspective at that point. Tattva Darshanam. This is the reality, this is the realization. This is what is called realization. वृत्तयः सहम अहम वृत्तिमाश्रिता वृत्तयो मनो विद्यहं मना. What is mind? What is mind? Mind is nothing but a bundle of thoughts. And every thought of yours has I thought. I am going, I am doing, I am thinking, I am thinking, I am thinking. The only word which you repeat maximum number of times in your whole lifetime is called the word called I. I am, I am, I am, I am, I am, I am. You are great, sir, you are great, sir. I am saying so. Okay? Ultimately, I am. The I thought is predominant thought in all of us. Even though you may not utter it, deep inside that I thought is there. Okay? All thoughts are dependent on the I thought. I thought is dependent on I feeling. That's aham vritti. Okay? Now, this is like the root of the tree. The tree has many branches. If the tree is big, but if the root is cut, the tree will collapse. The root of all our thought process is called I thought. Aham vritti. Aham ayam kuto bhavati chinvatah aipatatyam nija vicharanam. Where is this I thought coming from? If you inquire that, this I thought will fall, go, it will die. The I thought has no independent existence. You please tell me, now you are feeling I thought, I am so and so, you feel. That so and so is anyway removed because you are not the body, you are not the mind, you are not the intellect. But I remains. The feeling of I remains. What happened to your feeling of I when you went into deep sleep? That feeling also subsided. So that feeling is also temporary, it appeared in you. Okay? But the real I was shining in your deep sleep, in waking condition, in dreaming condition. That real I was always there. The reflected I is coming up and going. That I is aham vritti, I thought. The root of that I thought is nothing but pure consciousness. From that it has arisen. If you inquire into the source of I thought, that I thought will disappear. That will drop. That is called Nija Vicharanam, the self-enquiry. Ahaminaja Nasha Bhajyam Ahantaya Spurati Rat Swayam Paramapurna Sat. When this I thought is destroyed, don't think anything else is gone. Then the real I will shine. When the clouds disappear, the sun shines. The real I, which is supreme I, which is boundless I, which is infinite I, which is of the supreme nature of bliss, which is of the nature of wisdom, shines. The small I, the ego I, drops and real I shines. That is the complete truth. That's the full truth. So we have completed 20 slokas of Ramana Upadesha Sara. Another 10 slokas are there. When we get an extra opportunity to talk on these 10 slokas, we conduct a class, because next 1 month I am out of station. I'll be back on September 10th or so. Give me a week time to wake up from my jet lag. Okay. After that, if time permits, we can take up another 10 slokas. That will complete Sri Ramana Maharshi's Upadesha Sara. There are so many scriptures. But read what Sri Ramana Maharshi has taught. That is more than sufficient for your liberation. Even one teaching of Ramana Maharshi can liberate. One sentence of Ramana Maharshi can liberate. Why read so many things and waste your time? Okay. Close your eyes. Nanu Nanembudu Nanalla Ideha Manabuddhi Nanalla Sachidanandatma Shivananunani Shivoham Lokaha samastah Sukhino bhavantu Lokaha samastah Sukhino bhavantu Lokaha samastah Sukhino bhavantu Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om